Ever glance at a pine cone and thought, hey, that looks kind of familiar? Get ready for that aha moment, because today we're diving deep, deep into the pineal gland.
That tiny pine cone-shaped structure, yeah.
Buried deep within our brains, but with a reputation way bigger than its size.
Definitely bigger.
You sent in an article all about it, so we know you're curious.
Absolutely.
So let's unpack why this little gland is considered far more than just, a sleep regulator.
Oh, way more.
Okay, so first things first, where do we even find this mysterious pineal gland?
Right, so picture this. Your brain. Bustling network of neurons and signals, right?
Right.
Right near the center, almost like it's trying to stay hidden, sits the pineal gland. It's a bit of a loner. Unlike most brain structures that come in pairs, you've got just one pineal gland.
Okay, a solo act in the brain orchestra.
Exactly.
So what's the instrument? What's this tiny conductor made of?
It's mostly made up of these specialized cells. They're called pinealocytes.
Pinealocytes.
And they are the maestros when it comes to producing melatonin.
Melatonin, okay.
But here's the kicker. As we age, tiny calcium deposits, almost like grains of sand, start accumulating in the pineal gland.
Wait, really?
Yeah, they're called corpora arenacea,
Corpora arenacea.
or more whimsically, brain sand.
Brain sand. Okay, now that's just cool.
Right.
But what's the deal with melatonin? Isn't that like the sleep hormone?
Yeah, the pineal gland is like melatonin central, but thinking of it as just a sleep aid is like, calling a Swiss Army knife a toothpick.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Melatonin does help regulate our sleep-wake cycles, absolutely, but it also acts as a powerful antioxidant.
What does that mean, an antioxidant?
It protects our cells from damage by these harmful molecules called free radicals. Think of it as a cellular bodyguard, neutralizing those troublemakers that can damage our DNA and contribute to aging and diseases.
So it's fighting those cellular villains 24/7.
Yeah, pretty much.
What else is melatonin up to?
Well, it's also linked to mood regulation. Research suggests that imbalances in melatonin might play a role in mood disorders like depression.
Which makes sense. If you're not sleeping well, you often don't feel your best mentally.
Exactly.
Totally. Sleep and mood are definitely connected. Are there any other surprising talents we should know about?
Well, there's growing evidence that melatonin might also play a role in supporting a healthy immune system.
Interesting.
Yeah, but how exactly it does that is still being explored. What's fascinating is that the way melatonin acts, it actually depends on where it's working in the body. It binds to specific receptors,
Okay.
like a key fitting into a lock, and depending on the receptor, it triggers different effects.
Like a master key unlocking different rooms in the house.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. But let's zoom in on that sleep connection. We all know darkness triggers melatonin production, but how does that actually work?
Our eyes contain these special cells that detect light and send signals to the pineal gland,
Okay.
essentially telling it whether it's day or night. As darkness falls, the activity of an enzyme called AANAT ramps up, and that's the trigger for melatonin production.
So those late night Netflix binges are like tricking my pineal gland into thinking it's still daytime.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That blue light from our devices suppresses melatonin production, throwing off our natural sleep-wake cycle.
So it's basically a war against blue light if we want to keep our pineal gland on its A game.
Right.
But light isn't the only thing that influences it, is it?
You're right, there are other factors. For instance, research suggests that simply standing up at night, as opposed to like sitting or lying down, might lead to a slight increase in melatonin production.
Standing up at night, that's a weird one. But hey, anything to boost that melatonin. What about exercise? How does that impact the pineal gland?
Exercise, especially strenuous activity, can definitely influence the pineal gland and melatonin production. It seems that regular exercise can help synchronize our internal clocks, leading to better sleep and a more robust melatonin rhythm.
So working out might be like a secret weapon for getting more sleep. Sign me up. But what if something goes wrong with the pineal gland?
Great question. While the pineal gland is a vital player like any other part of the body, it can experience issues.
Right.
But the good news is these are relatively rare.
Good to know. But what kind of problems are we talking about?
Well, in some cases, cysts or even tumors can develop in the pineal gland.
Cysts and tumors in the brain. That doesn't sound good.
I know it sounds scary, but most pineal cysts are benign, meaning they're not cancerous. And often they don't cause any noticeable symptoms.
How would you even know if you had one then?
If a cyst or tumor grows large enough, it can start to press on the surrounding brain tissue, causing headaches, vision problems, or even trouble sleeping.
Okay, so it's something to keep an eye on, but not necessarily to panic about.
Yeah.
What about melatonin itself? Can we have too much or too little?
Absolutely. Melatonin deficiency, where your body isn't producing enough, is actually fairly common. It's often linked to aging, shift work, or spending too much time exposed to artificial light at night.
So those late-night Netflix binges are not only bad for sleep, but they might be making my pineal gland feel stressed.
That's a good way to put it. Melatonin deficiency can throw off your sleep rhythm, making it hard to fall asleep, stay asleep, or even feel rested after a full night in bed.
Okay, I'm getting the message. Cut back on the late-night screen time.
Mm.
But what about having too much melatonin? Is that even possible?
It is, but it's less common. Sometimes certain types of tumors can cause the pineal gland to overproduce melatonin.
And what happens then? Do you just, like, sleep all the time?
That's one possibility. Excessive sleepiness is a common symptom, but it can also lead to other issues like low blood pressure or hormonal imbalances.
So it's all about finding that sweet spot with melatonin.
Yeah.
Not too much, not too little. But I'm itching to get back to this whole third eye concept. It's just so intriguing. What's the deal with the pineal gland being called the third eye?
I'm glad you brought that up. It's one of the most captivating things about the pineal gland. For centuries, it's been shrouded in mystery and mystical interpretations. Ancient cultures, from the Egyptians to the Greeks, believed it was a connection point between the physical and spiritual worlds.
So there's a reason it's shaped like a pine cone. Those ancient cultures were onto something.
It's definitely intriguing. While modern science focuses on its biological roles, it's easy to see why the pineal gland sparks such imaginative interpretations. It's uniquely positioned deep within the brain, it responds to light, and it influences rhythms and cycles that are essential to life.
It's like the conductor of the orchestra, keeping everything in sync.
That's a great way to put it. The pineal gland's sensitivity to light, in particular, seems to be key to its role in regulating seasonal changes in animals. Think about things like breeding seasons, hibernation. Those are all influenced by the pineal gland's response to changes in daylight.
So we're all just complex houseplants, responding to our own internal clocks set by the sun.
In a way, yeah. And in humans, this connection to light plays a role in seasonal affective disorder, or SAD. As the days get shorter in the winter, some people experience symptoms of depression linked to changes in melatonin and serotonin levels.
Wow, that's fascinating. But before we get lost in the wonders of seasonal rhythms, let's zoom back in on something you mentioned earlier. The pineal gland's role as a bridge between the nervous system and the endocrine system. Can you explain that a bit more for those of us who haven't taken a biology class in a while?
The nervous system is essentially your body's control center, the way your brain communicates with the rest of your body, sending signals through a network of nerves. The endocrine system, on the other hand, is all about hormones, chemical messengers that travel through your bloodstream, regulating everything from growth and development to metabolism and mood.
So we have these two complex systems, the nervous system and the endocrine system, both running the show. Where does our little pine cone friend fit in?
Think of the pineal gland as a bridge between them.
A
Yeah, it receives signals from the nervous system, specifically about light exposure,
Okay.
and then uses that information to decide when to produce and release hormones like melatonin into the endocrine system. It's like a communication hub,
Right.
translating signals from one system into a language the other one can understand.
It's amazing how this tiny gland plays such a vital role in keeping everything in sync. It makes you wonder, though, with all the artificial light we're exposed to these days, are our pineal glands working overtime trying to keep up?
That's a really crucial question, and it's something that researchers are really trying to understand, the long-term implications of our modern, always illuminated lifestyles. Our bodies evolved in a world with natural light-dark cycles, and this constant presence of artificial light can disrupt that delicate balance.
So what can we do? Is it possible to give our pineal glands a break and help them out a bit?
Absolutely. One of the most effective things is creating a consistent sleep schedule, even on the weekends.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I know. But going to bed and waking up around the same time, it helps regulate your natural sleep-wake cycle,
Right.
which in turn helps your pineal gland function optimally.
So no more sleeping in on Saturdays. It's a tough one, but I'm willing to try it for the sake of my pineal gland.
It's all about finding that balance. And remember our discussion about blue light.
Yeah.
Minimizing that screen time an hour or two before bed can make a big difference. That way your pineal gland can respond to the natural decrease in light and ramp up that melatonin production.
Easier said than done sometimes. But I'm starting to understand just how important it is. Any other tips for good pineal gland hygiene?
Spending time outdoors in natural light during the day is fantastic for regulating your circadian rhythm. There's also some interesting research suggesting that certain foods, like tart cherries, walnuts, contain melatonin or its precursors,
Interesting.
which could potentially provide a natural boost.
So a handful of walnuts and a walk in the park. You can definitely get behind that prescription. This has been a fascinating deep dive. We've covered everything from brain sand to the mysteries of the universe, all thanks to this tiny but mighty gland. Any final thoughts?
I think the biggest takeaway is just how interconnected our bodies are and how something as small as the pineal gland can have such a profound impact on our overall health and well-being.
Absolutely. This deep dive really opened my eyes, or should I say, my third eye, to the wonders of the pineal gland. Thanks for joining us on this journey of discovery. Until next time, keep those brains curious and those pineal glands happy.